I just listened to Myra West's, I haven't finished watching it yet, Myra West's thoughts about turning 23. It's really good. Everyone should listen to that. And I started thinking about when I turned, it was after I turned 23. And I just got back from a trip, a long trip. It started out, it was only going to be a few months, and it was a trip to Ladakh in India, and then I was going to do a month or so in Pakistan. But just before I left on that trip, I read Danziger's book. I can't remember, it was just called Danziger's Travels or something, wasn't it? It was a book about travelling around with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. And that was in the days when there was only the Russians in Afghanistan. Well, I guess it was only the Russians and some CIA guys. And I wanted to do more of the Silk Road. I wanted to see more of the Silk Road, so I went up from Pakistan up into China, into Xinjiang province to Kashgar, which was a beautiful city. I don't know, I guess it's changed a lot now. And in Kashgar I met a girl who was English, but she'd been living in Hong Kong for a few years, and she'd been working as a writer for the South China Morning Post. And we travelled together for a while with a French couple, and we travelled up into the Swat Valley, up to Mingora together, and she told me that I was just saying that I couldn't face going back to England. The thought of going back made me sick. This was 1989. It was just after the Berlin Wall had come down. And we heard about that on the shortwave radio. We were in a tent, camped high up a valley near K2 somewhere, high up in the Karakoram mountains. We were on the route up to the K2 base camp, and you pass some nice glaciers. We weren't going to go all the way to the base camp even, but we passed these. We walked up to the glaciers, and we were in a tent that night when the Berlin Wall news came on the World Service, and we listened to it on the radio. Anyway, she told me that if I didn't want to go back to England, I could go to Hong Kong. That was why I went to Hong Kong. So the 3-month trip turned into a longer affair. I think it turned into almost a year. I went to Hong Kong, and then after Hong Kong, I went on the Trans-Siberian Railway back to Moscow. I spent a week in Moscow, kind of illegally, and then that was May or June of 1989, and then went to Budapest, and then from Budapest to Cologne, and then just one terrible journey, pretty much non-stop from Cologne to London. And I got back from that, and I was staying in my parents' house in Bath, trying to write some computer code to do regular expressions. So I did manage to write that. And that's all of the story I'm going to tell, because I'm going to run out of video, but the rest of the story goes on.